Everybody, just want to welcome you to our Buzz Hub tonight, wearing our Oscoda paraphernalia representing, because we have a special guest tonight, Scott Moore, the superintendent of Oscoda Schools. And we have big opportunity ahead of us. And we want to make sure everybody understands the features, the benefits of the upcoming bond proposal, what it does for our schools, not only from our elementary, but to our high school, and then also to a wonderful new opportunity to integrate the schools and the community together in a community center. This is not a bond renewal, but it is a no increase bond, meaning that what you're currently paying from a bond millage perspective would not change with this new bond being voted, approved, and passed by the taxpayers in Oscoda and actually in the county. So this bond proposal is going to be up for a vote on May 7th. We're going to have the polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and there currently is early voting. So the important part about today is that if you haven't voted and you have questions, we're hoping that we can not only have our Superintendent Moore go through some of these details as far as the features, the benefits, and what it's going to do for us as a community, but also talk a little bit about anything to do with questions about how long they think it'll take, how will this integrate with the community to utilize the community center. We've all wanted a community center, and I think this is a great opportunity to try and move forward and get one. So at this time, I would like to thank our Superintendent Moore for coming on. He's had a busy day. He just came off of the girls varsity soccer field where they played in windy and 40-degree weather. And they were not only victorious, but happy to get out of the cold, and they had a great win. So at this time, Superintendent Moore, take it away.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I'm very thankful to be here. I appreciate it, and grateful that you're out trying to get information into our community and let people know what's happening. And I thought you did a real good job introducing the bond and what's part of it. And it is a 0 mil increase from the current levy. The previous bond is set to expire, and there's just a tremendous amount of research out there that shows that it benefits a community when their school does carry a bond. I'm not a fan of debt myself, which is why we've refinanced the previous bond and saved our taxpayers well over $1 million in our time doing it. But as far as what this bond is aiming to do, it is going to benefit our schools for decades to come, generations. And in addition to that, it will be a huge benefit to the community as a whole. So very excited about this. And I hope people recognize that, we don't like talking about taxes. We don't like having to pay taxes. I mean, I understand that. But in order to have a community that's functioning, healthy, and strong, you have to have strong schools. And our school district, when you take a look at how the state of Michigan compares school districts, they identify us and group us into what's called peer groups. Our peer groups are identified based on what our enrollment is, and in addition to that, what our free and reduced lunch rate is, which is an indicator of what a socioeconomic status in a community could be considered. And for us, we look at comparisons with Vesterberg, Springport, Brandywine, Farwell, Morley Stanwood, Vassar, Benzie, and Gwynn. So there's 8 other schools. We're in a nine peer group. We're 8th out of 9th in current levy, and that's for our bond levy. We're at 1.46, and even if you add in a sinking fund, we're still 8th out of 9th in that in regards to tax levy, and we're not asking for any more. And we're very fortunate because we've got excellent students, wonderful staff, and a great community behind us. And even though we're 8th out of 9th in terms of financing for our debt levies, we've had the highest school quality index according to the state of Michigan for 2 years in a row in our peer group. So we feel very blessed about that.
Yeah, those are some amazing statistics. I forgot one really, really important thing that I wanted to ask you, because I think some of the people that maybe have joined us aren't familiar with how you even came to be the superintendent. And I apologize because I just wanted to backtrack and just let them know why you chose to dedicate your career here in Oscoda, for the schools as well as for the community. So could you just tell us, could you just backtrack a little? And I apologize for going back and forth, but I think it's really important that people understand your dedication, not only to our community, but to the children and the schools.
Well, I thank you for asking that question. I'm very humbled to be able to serve in this position. I'll be going on my 14th year here. Um, when when I was fortunate to go to school here myself, I came here in fourth grade, and it was right at about 2 weeks before the Gulf War started in Iraq, and the air base was one of the largest strategic bombing air bases in the country, and B-52s were headed to the Middle East right when I was moving here from Metro Detroit. My dad was injured and had to retire much earlier than what they anticipated. They thought they could give us a better quality of life up here in Oscoda, and they moved us up here when I was in fourth grade. And I just had a wonderful experience as a student here, and really enjoyed my time in Oscoda. I went to Central Michigan University. I knew I could take you to the classroom I was in, and just down the hall here when I decided I wanted to be a teacher in ninth grade. And I studied at Central Michigan University to be a social studies teacher, and I focused on economics, government, uh, geography, and history, and along with psychology, and was very excited. I went and I ended up getting a job at a place called Marine City, which is south of Port Huron, where I was a
Right.
teacher and I was a football coach and a track coach there. Fortunate to be part of a team that uh, went on and won a state championship in football. So I learned a lot about just what it takes to manage teams from there. And ironically, Oscoda was just on the heels of canceling their football season in 2006. It made national news, and people were kind of laughing at Oscoda, where I was at Marine City and we were making long playoff runs. And the kids, I'd be walking out, they putting their cleats on outside, and they'd be saying, "Oh, it's cold, coach." And I'd say, "Oh, up in Oscoda, we'd go to the beach on a day like today, as it's 22 degrees outside and raining," and just to try and encourage them that, hey, we're tough enough, we can handle this. And then when Oscoda canceled their football season, and not even just that, economically or academically, excuse me, Oscoda schools was really struggling. The grades that were being rendered at the time were F's and D's when the state was grading them that way. And I'd earned my master's degree from the University of Michigan in public administration, and the assistant principal job opened up in Oscoda, and Mr. Negro hired me as his assistant principal, and I had him as an excellent mentor, just couldn't ask for any better. And we were able to take Richardson Elementary from an F, and with the hard work of our staff and students and the support of the community, we turned it into an A school by the time it was done. And I served as assistant principal for 2 years and then became principal. I earned my specialist degree from Grand Valley State University, and that was in the superintendency. And after I was principal for 2 years at Richardson, Mr. Negro was transferred over to the high school where it was a failing school at the time, in 2010-11, and I was had the opportunity to apply to be the superintendent, and I became the superintendent, and we worked together. And Oscoda area schools had the high school, and we were ranked in the fourth percentile at one point in terms of academic achievement. And then the state quit ranking us in percentiles, but when they stopped, we were ranked in the 69th percentile. So that amount of growth qualified us to be identified as a reward school, which is the equivalent of winning a state championship in academics. So we just did,
Wow.
we were so blessed to be able to work things through. And 2017, I was able to get my doctorate from Eastern Michigan University. I've had lots of opportunities to go to other places, but this is my home. This is where I want to be. This is where I intend to retire from. I'm very committed here. There's 5 signs of a highly functioning team, and one of them is commitment. And I think that's made a big difference because we have a very committed team here. I firmly believe that our teaching staff and administrative staff are the best in Northeast Michigan. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people want to come to Oscoda to be part of our educational system. In the past 14 years, we've going on actually 13 years. We're not to the 14th yet, but we've won 49 championships in athletics, which is almost double what our whole history of our school has for championships. And in addition to that, which is incredibly impressive, is our band has just earned a 1 in competition again for 11 out of 12 years, which is the equivalent of winning a state championship in band. So I'm just so humbled to be a part of the school system. And every day we want to get better. So that's what our goal is.
That's phenomenal.
It's
What a lengthy education that you've invested, that you brought to Oscoda. We're pretty lucky to have someone like yourself here, and not only with your history and your family's history, but all the experiences you've had out and about and brought them back. Go Chips, but better yet,
Yeah.
go Wolverines.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm going to just kind of let you take it over and explain. And then I've let everyone know in the group chat that if they have some questions, to enter them into the Q&A box. And we're going to let you go over. I know you've done this several times. I've seen you at multiple meetings going over this, so you've probably got it all memorized. But if there's anything at the end that we haven't discussed, I'll go over the questions if that works for you.
Absolutely. I'm happy to go through the rundown and answer any questions that anybody has. We have been getting out. I know I've been out to so many places, and very fortunate that people have welcomed us in. And I'm thankful that it seems like just about everywhere we go, we get really positive responses. So hopefully people will be going out and voting. You mentioned already that people will be able to vote right now with early voting. People who live in AuSable Township, Oscoda Township, Wilbur Township, Curtis Township, Glenny, Greenbush, and Mankato are all eligible to vote. People really don't realize how big our school system is. We're one of the largest school districts in the whole Lower Peninsula when you look at geography. Around 400 square miles, a little bit more, which is a huge area to cover, and people just don't realize that. But people will have an opportunity. They can go into any of their clerk's offices and get absentee ballots and vote all the way up to May 7th, or they could go into the polls on May 7th and vote like what we typically do. But it's definitely different as far as the voting season goes from what we've had in the past, because the voting season's so long. So everyone should hopefully have that opportunity to vote. As far as what we're looking at, if I were to say the biggest priority that is immediate right now would be the steam heat system here at the high school. The high school is about 114,000 square feet, and we have a whole building that's dedicated to the boilers. And the boilers are steam heat, and that's a significant difference from hot water heat or natural gas or even propane. Steam heat is really an archaic way of providing energy efficiency, and it's extremely dangerous when you're talking about the size of boilers that we have at our school system. And when I say it's dangerous to the extent of people with certifications to work on these types of boilers, they're not in this general area. So people, when our boilers go down, we have to call people in. We use people from Muskegon, Detroit, and it takes them a long time to get here, and the cost is pretty high and it's significant. And it's very hard to control the climate in this building, which was built in 1961 at the height of the Cold War. It has tunnels throughout the building. It's built like a bunker, believe it or not. And you can walk through the tunnels, and the tunnels are actually the air filtration plenums even. That's the way the building was designed. And it's just not efficient in regards to doing management. And it's hard to keep the climate temperate here because just about all the classrooms except for 4 of them in this whole building are interior classrooms. So it's definitely time to change the heating system. And as soon as we go to change the heating system, probably the most efficient way to do it is going to be partially through rooftop units. And once we start puncturing through that and start getting into the piping, all the piping's wrapped in asbestos. Their ceiling tiles are all asbestos. And the vast majority of floor tile is asbestos. So our architects and engineers are estimating that it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of $7.5 million just to do the steam heat conversion. So that's probably the most important part, because there are days when we come in here real early in the morning and we're wondering if we're going to be able to have school or not, because if we can't have these boilers functioning, it just wreaks a tremendous amount of havoc. And we don't have emergency generator backups. So when they go out, the pool, I mean, could be in major problems. We've had lots of flooding as a result. So emergency generators are also part of the plan. It's a safety issue as much as anything else. And it's a good insurance policy for us for the investment that we have as a community in our buildings. So that's a big part. Also, we've surveyed the staff several times, and one of the biggest things that the staff wants, or excuse me, the community wants, is they'd like to have new playground equipment for the kids. That's right up at the top. And I would agree. When I was a student, we had playground equipment that's still in use today. So playgrounds are a pretty expensive venture. So to have good playground safe areas for our community to use, we'd like to have that in play. Some of the desks were old when I was a student here at the high school, particularly. We're sitting a little better over at Richardson, but over at the high school here, the desks and furniture needs to be addressed, absolutely. The kitchens have never been remodeled since the early 60s at their onset of construction. A lot of it is steel piping, which rusts, and just after a while it just rots out, which we've ran into already with elbow joints that just are shot, and then you run into a whole bunch of problems. So our kitchens need to be cracked open, including tearing into the concrete. So that's going to be an extensive way to go about it. The electrical systems are original and need to be taken care of. Our auditorium is the nicest auditorium in the whole region, and the largest. At the other end of it, we need to have our furnishings taken care of, because it's the original house lighting from 1961, and the sound system just doesn't even work at all anymore. And a lot of the chairs have became recliners, but they're not designed to be recliners. So it's time to address that. We're doing pretty well in regards to making sure everything's ADA, American with Disability Act certified, but we would like to have our soccer field addressed, so we can have restrooms at the soccer field that are taken care of. So we're sitting good there, and we're in pretty good position with that. There's a lot of other projects that are involved that we'll be able to take care of through this, like the showers that go into the pool locker room areas are the original tile and fixtures. Those need to be addressed. There'll be technology for the students, and we're even looking to hopefully get a couple new buses. So there's a lot involved before we even start talking about a community center.
Wow. All right, do you need to take a breather real quick?
No, but I don't want to be the only one talking, so I want to be able to.
You want me to throw a couple questions?
Well, however you want to do it, I'm happy.
All right, I don't want to hit you up too much, so that you're. But Debbie Shergard, who actually grew up here, and she used to live in what is now the Blake Style by Blake's pink building next to Kava Cafe. She had a question, and she wanted to know, and I know you and I discussed about the last millage. The last millage was a 25-year bond. Does that mean that it's getting ready to expire?
Yes, it does. That's why we're due up. It's 2024, so that bond is. We have gone there have been other bonds that the district's gone for in that period of time. There's been one other bond, excuse me. In 2014, the district went for a bond for a little over $900,000 to take care of the pool situation, and to have the track refurbished, and the community supported that. That bond has been retired. And then we are fortunate to have a sinking fund, which gives us an allocation every year and generates money to be able to maintain the buildings. The last time that we had a sinking fund passed was 2018, and so that was part of it as well. But as far and we used that to address the heating systems at Richardson, and also we used it to address the the bathrooms all needed to be remodeled. A lot of the parking lots needed to be refurbished. The bleachers needed to be replaced. The the roofs are pretty much all within warranty except for two sections right now, which is a huge undertaking to get all the roofs in place. And over at Richardson, we've abated just about all the asbestos. I don't know that we'll ever get rid of all of it, but as far as the classrooms and the flooring and the tile, we've taken care of a tremendous amount of that already with what we've been fortunate to be bestowed upon through the community. But as far as the actual bond goes, yeah, that was passed in 2001. So it's getting ready to retire, which is why we're looking to do this now, to continue it along, because there's a lot of research out there that shows that a healthy community has a bond. And when you look at school districts of similar size and scope to ours, our bond levy would be significantly less than what others would be. So we're hopeful to get this taken care of.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much it took to put this together. You had to have been working on this for a really long time.
Absolutely. We plan here at Oscoda Area Schools, and I'd encourage anyone to look at our strategic planning. It's on the website under Board of Education. But we have plans that extend out at least 5 years for most of our big initiatives, and we've been planning on this. We've been doing facility use assessments. We've had public forums. We've issued several surveys to try and find out what the community wanted so we could be responsive to it, which is really why the community center is being looked at in conjunction with our school districts getting larger. Our enrollment's up, which is a very positive piece for our community. And with our enrollment increasing, we typically hope to have 100 kids per grade level that come into kindergarten. Well, this year we had 127. The year before was, I think, 117, and then 114 the year before. In order to go for a bond, you have to have an independent auditor approved by Treasury come in and do an enrollment projection. And they're projecting that Oscoda Schools, worst case scenario, is going to have a 0 increase enrollment over the next 5 years. But they're projecting it could be as high as 300 students. So if we're able to take and have a community center, and our plan affords for offices at the front of it, which would also help to be able to staff it. So the staffing cost of it would be minimized during the day tremendously if we had staff on the site. We'd be able to recapture between 5 and 6 classrooms that are currently being used as offices. And it's a lot more affordable to build offices than it is classrooms. So we're going to have places to put kids because our enrollment's up. And we are tight for space. Everything's out here on River Road now. We're all condensed into one central location, which is effective and efficient for us. And I don't see us building out anywhere out in the 400 square mile district. Everything's pretty much going to stay here at River Road Complex. And we are going to make this community center available to the public is the goal. There's a subcommittee of the board, and what they're talking about now is that we make it available on days that school's in session from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. And what we would do is we would have it from 10:30 to 12:30, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. though it would not be available to the public, because we would want a place for our kids to be able to go during inclement weather for recess. So other than that, Monday through Friday, day schools in session, we'd have this open and available to the public. And then on the weekends, we're thinking that it'd be somewhere around 12 hours a shot on the weekend, whether it's 8 on Saturday for hours, or 4 on Sunday, or 6 and 6, somewhere around there. And then in the summer, we probably would have reduced hours, somewhere in the ballpark of Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Because Oscoda in the summer, people are typically outside. So that is what we would be thinking, unless there was a major demand from the community to do something different.
Gotcha. Well, the one thing I wanted to ask you, since you've answered the question about the current bond expires this year, and obviously this new bond proposal is a zero increase over what we had before. Do you know, you mentioned that the 2019 sinking fund was what part of the heating system over at Richardson covered, correct?
Right.
So, because Debbie had a question about that, so I think that answers that part of it. Debbie, if it doesn't, put another question up. But the other thing that Dave Carmona, who is on with us, he had quite a few questions, and one of them was, when will the previous bond be retired? So we've got that one done. And then he also asked about, let me find it. He asked about, since the current bond cannot be used for staffing and maintenance, will you be asking for a sinking bond fund for each of the next 10 years? And you just mentioned that in 2019, there was a sinking bond fund. So is that one currently in place for those things, or is that different?
No, the sinking fund is still in place, and districts that are healthy have a sinking fund, and they have a bond that they carry. And if you take and you add our sinking fund and our bond levy together, we're still 8th out of 9th against our peer districts. But that's a 10-year levy on the sinking fund. I would anticipate in 2029 that the district would look to either maintain and renew the sinking fund, or would look to even reduce it, would be my thoughts. And obviously, I can't guarantee that far out. I mean, that's a long run, but I would think that the sinking fund would continue at some level moving forward, because that's an annual amount of money. And a lot of times people don't realize the difference between a bond and a sinking fund. A sinking fund is designed to be able to help maintain the buildings in the facilities. You can also use it for construction, but it's designed to be able to help with that. Not typical maintenance, but overall to be able to take care of these facilities, because school facilities are so unique in the way that they're designed and what they have to have. Now, when you take a look at what a bond is in essence like a mortgage. You get all the money up front, and then you pay it off over a period of time. So you're able to get so much more done with the bond all up front, as opposed to the sinking fund. You get an annual allocation. And I'd like to point out, so people realize, since 2020, I don't like to bring up the pandemic, but it's just a hard, cold truth of it. Construction costs have increased, according to industry experts and research, conservatively 35%. Sometimes people are saying 45%. So I've been hitting, I can cite articles that show 40%. So when construction costs have increased at 40%, a lot of the plans that we had, even with the sinking fund, no matter how far you try and extend it, you're not going to be able to accomplish it. But here at Oscoda, we do a lot ourselves. I'm fortunate that I'm several generations deep from a construction background. Our director of operation and plants, he's and as a student, and then in my previous work through to get through college, I did a tremendous amount of construction, and I did figuring and estimating for building center. And I've built several houses and then done a lot of work here. And we have a journeyman electrician who is our director of operation and plant. And we have a general contractor general contractor, who's our assistant director of operation and plant. So we have a pretty skilled staff, and I even served 2 years as our director of operation and plant at the onset of our administration because we were really hurting for funds. So I assumed that role at the beginning of my tenure as superintendent. And we've built a lot of facilities here with our own hands. Just this last year, I myself, I shingled 80 squares worth of shingles. Our operation and plant team completed a lighting project outside that conservative estimate would have been $300,000 for us to
Wow.
hire out, but we did it internally. And I can go through and say several different projects that we've been able to maintain ourselves because we try and make our funds go as far as they possibly can.
Yeah. So quick question for you, Dave. I see you popping in. Dave Carmona got kicked out and he was the one that was asking a lot of questions. So Dave, just to bring you up to speed, we do have a current sinking fund and it will expire in 10 years. The current bond that you asked the question about, that does expire this year. So that's why the new bond is on the proposal. As far as the total levy with the sinking fund and the new bond, I don't know what the, Scott, do you know what the levy on the sinking fund is?
I think it's around 1 mil. So when you add that 1 mil on to the 1.46 at 2.46 total levy, that's still adding against our peer districts. We're still 8th out of 9th in terms of total debt levy against peer districts.
Because we've got
it's pretty marginal.
Vestaburg is 8.6. Springport
That's just their bond. That's just their bond.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to bring up that we get down to 3.9 when you get to Brandywine, Farwell, Morley, Stanwood, and Vassar. And then Benzie is 1.99. And then Oscoda is the 1.46 for the bond. So about 2.46. Dave had that question.
Yeah.
And then let me go back up here. There was also a mention of did you guys get a 2023 bus replacement program as part of, because you're not using any of this millage for buses, and was Oscoda eligible for that, or was our fleet newer, or how exactly, do you know anything about that?
As far as the 2023 bus replacement, I'm not 100% familiar. There was a increase from the state for 1 year, around $270,000 from what I recall, to be able to help for districts based on their size. When I say size, geography, and that's about what our allocation was. And we've bought several buses with that. So that was a positive piece. And that was the first time that we've gotten an increase there. There's also electric bus grant programs out there. We applied for one. Don't know if we're going to get it or not, but we don't intend on moving to an electric fleet anytime in the near future, that's for sure. But we've been working hard out of our general fund to buy buses. We would hope to buy 2 buses out of this if we could, and this bond proposal. And if we were to do that, our bus fleet would be sitting really good.
Oh, that's great news. Yeah, now let me ask you something on the, that was the one that
we have 16 runs typically. So to put that in perspective, and buses cost about, so I said 270,000, which it sounds like a lot, but buses cost $140,000 each right now. So you're looking at, 2 buses that you're able to replace. And we're very fortunate. We have 2 really good mechanics, and our other mechanic that just retired was with us for, I think, 56 years. He just retired last year. So we've been very fortunate to be able to make buses go for 20 plus years. I mean, that's typically what we keep a bus, is almost 20 years.
Yeah, and we have a lot of rural routes and
Absolutely.
a lot of long routes with a lot of snow, and we have excellent paving, obviously, or plowing on the paved roads and stuff. But you get on some of those dirt roads, some of that paving can be some of that plowing can be a little bit more treacherous because it doesn't have the pavement, and there's a little bit more that these bus drivers have to contend with. So I can't believe that we had a bus repair person in our facility for over 50 years.
Yeah, we're very fortunate with our staff. We have several people who have 40 plus years on staff right now. We really do. We say here in Oscoda, if you're positive, hardworking, skilled, resilient, and compassionate, and if you're committed to those things, it's a really good place to be. And that's why our school system, despite the teacher shortage out there and the shortage in a lot of labor market, we're pretty fortunate that people still want to be a part of our team. So we really are blessed. I can name we have an operation and plant person that's got over 40 years. Mr. Negro, who I mentioned, who's our director of categorical funding, over 40 years. Linda Skodak, curriculum coordinator, over 40 years. Lloyd Hurlbert, who's been our custodian, he's got over 40 years with us. So we're pretty blessed that we've been able to maintain.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, I think it also goes to now when you gave off those 5 items that you mentioned about the success factors, is that also the 5 pillars that
it is? Good catch, Kelly.
Yeah,
good catch.
all right.
Way to work. And we say that and we believe it. And students first is our vision. And so we really are committed. When we come up with tough decisions, the biggest barometer in helping us decide is it best for kids? And if it's best for kids, then that's what we're committed to. And then after that, we look to our mission statement through partnership with the home and community, which explains why we are trying to be the epicenter of our community, to provide comprehensive and challenging learning experiences, preparing all students to become productive and responsible members of society. And our school district is committed to our community, which is why, we've had the backpack program that we've supported for 13, 14 years now, where we make sure that our kids, even on the weekends, are fed, and why we've partnered with the local churches to do the food giveaway every month and on our facilities. And, sometimes they're feeding 400 families right from our facility. And we're also going to have our school district. I've been part of the push and on the recycling advisory board, where we're going to have recycling out here in terms of dropping off and being available. We really do want to partner with our community.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
really
we're very
amazing.
blessed.
Yeah, Davey and I always try and put up a lot of the posts about the athletics for the week, about the students of the month, and what the pillars are that got them those recognition. And you do a phenomenal job. And, speaking of, the number one thing in those pillars, is it good for the kids? Question came up on the dual use facility of the community center. And some people have put some comments up on some Facebook posts that have been done recently, like what provisions are going to be in place where either you're as coming in from the community to use the center, how does the safety and security, is there going to be pass cards, or what kind of things have been thought about for a dual use facility, but also keeping the campus of the kids, in check with the outside community?
I'm really glad that you brought that up, Kelly, because we have safety meetings every month that are pretty extensive with our team, and we've really been at the forefront of local school districts in regards to making sure that safety is a priority and partnering with our law enforcement, but not even just at a level of law enforcement, but our safety committee addresses things like, are the rugs in good shape when you walk in the building, because we don't want people to trip and fall? Do we have good lighting outside as we're coming in to the buildings? Anything that could be safety oriented. And when it comes to a dual use facility, our plan is not to have the kids there during the school day with the exception of lunch. And then we would shut that down, that period 10:30 to 12:30 to the community. But if people are going to be a part of the community center, our thought process is they would be issued a key card only after they pass. If you want to volunteer with the schools right now, you have to do a background check, and we would have everybody that is coming onto the campus have that background check in order to get that key card. Um,
Excellent.
Building the facility and staffing the facility are two different things. We're very fortunate here in Oscoda. We went from 13 years ago, we only had $92,000 projected in the bank, but for the past 8 years, we've got the highest rating now from the state for our financial security, because we've worked hard to manage our funds in a very economical and positive way, while at the same time trying to take care of our employees. So we've been very blessed with that. And one of the keys that we have to realize is there's going to be a financial sense of responsibility with a community center, because during the day, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., we don't anticipate that there would be an extended cost to us, because there will be offices there. There'll be community members that should be able to, as adults, go and use the facility without a whole bunch of people, lack of a better term, babysitting them. But then
Right.
after school, 4 o'clock after hours, to be able to maintain to have it open. That's the time where we would have a custodian come in. And in addition to having a custodian, a facility manager for the evening, approximately, 28 hours a week. So we're guessing somewhere in the ballpark of around $65,000-$70,000 that it would cost to staff this facility, including cleaning it. As far as the students go, the board has expressed that they don't want students to have to ever pay to be at school. So I don't think the kids are going to have to pay to use the community center. Staff has also gotten to the point where don't want to have staff have to pay. But the board has been talking that there could be a nominal fee just to cover the cost, thinking somewhere in the ballpark of around $50 a year, with consideration being given for people, if they're seniors, getting a discount, first responders, law enforcement, fire department, veterans, all receiving a discount. But to staff it would work out to somewhere, $50 to $70 a year, probably less than $5 a month is what we're thinking.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say, I just ran your numbers, and it's at 50, it's $4.16 a month for
yeah.
a whole month of having the facility available. And then one thing I wanted to touch on, and then I have another question that Dave Carmona had brought up. But Davey and I were doing some research about just to put in perspective, some people were asking, well, what would the reduction potentially be in my property taxes? So I did a little calculation. I do mortgages in my regular everyday job, so I'm a little familiar with the calculation of millage rates. So we looked at just a national average from realtor.com was 208,000 in the community for home values. And typically when you figure out the millage rate, and I'm just stating all of this for a lot of the people that will watch it on the replay, as well as the people we have attending here today, is that what they do is they take approximately half of what the average value of your home would be. So if we use 208,000 as an average in the community, and we take half of that, that's 104,000. And the cost per millage is always figured out as a cost per thousand. So we'd use the number 104. So we went from 208,000 to the half, which is 104, and then 104,000, I should say, and then it's a cost per thousand. So that's where we get the number of 104, and you multiply that times the 1.46, and we're looking at about $151 a year, or on a daily basis about 42 cents, because it comes out to about $12.65 a month.
I'm glad you did that calculation, Kelly, because I hadn't done that. But when you put it like that, it makes me think that's a pretty good deal to support your school. And
Yeah, I
you
think
have
it
a
is
quality
too.
school, because your property values are directly dependent on the type of school system that you're in. And if you have a good school system, your property values should improve, and your house is one of your biggest investments. So I would think that that'd be a positive, and I appreciate that you knocked it down that way, because at $150 to even have access to a community center at $150, I mean, that's a deal when you think about it, because I had a member of the community give me a flyer for Warren's Community Center, and they have to pay $500 a year independent of their taxes just to have access to it. So
Yeah, we had one down when I lived in Livonia, and I can't remember how much it was. It was about 13 years ago, so I apologize. But you're absolutely right. The other thing that I always run into when I'm talking with clients that are, working with a real estate agent is they want to know about the school system, whether they're first-time buyers, newly married, relocating, kids are entering the school system, or they just want to make sure it's a healthy community because that obviously, like you said, affects property values. And I think there is something to be said also about when you have strong schools, you attract families. And when you attract families, you attract community, which is one of the reasons why Davey and I do this Buzz Hub, is because we do want there to be a sense of community, a sense of bringing awareness to things. So I really appreciate the fact that also you brought up there is a lot of programs that you guys have gone out for with the backpack program, making sure that children, and I know you also did it during COVID, you guys made sure that kids were not without meals. We also have different programs for seniors and other community members that need help with food, because I know a lot of people are hurting right now, and that is not something that anyone is ignoring, in the fact that, we do have this new bond, but it's not going to increase what you are either incurring in your escrows or that you write a check for. It will remain the same based on, your taxable value and what this bond renewal millage rate would be. So I just wanted to make sure we got the financials in there. I do have two quick other questions, and then I wanted to bring in some community stuff that we have going on in addition. The ballot states, and this one, Dave Carmona put this up, it states that, proceeds can't be used for repair or maintenance, but what does that mean if we're going to do replacement and also the updating/repair that you mentioned?
There's a guide that's that identifies specific projects, and Treasury is pretty clear on it about what constitutes maintenance and what constitutes construction. With the bond in and of itself, there's shouldn't be much in regards to maintenance. I'll take one point here. When I say point, it makes me think of my grandpa, who was a bricklayer, who lived at 6 Mile in Farmington and Livonia, which is where we were at before we came here to Oscoda. And you'll see at the high school portion of the projects, it says reconstruct brown brick at pool. Initially, I said, hey, we need to tuck point the brick on the back of the building, because with all the humidity that came through the pool, the mortar joints are just starting to just rot out. So in my mind, having background in construction, why don't we just look at tuck pointing, which is a whole trade? Well, that doesn't account for what would be construction. So we had to say, no, we're not going to tuck point. We're going to have to reconstruct the brick that's on the back, because
Gotcha.
Treasury identifies those projects, and that's why it says reconstruct the brown brick. And
So you guys
here
really
I
went
thought I was
through.
being slick, trying to talk about tuck pointing, but that wouldn't have flown. So
Yeah. Hey, Debbie's got a quick question about, the township, when they sold the prior community center that was out on the flight district out by the Coletta and the airport. Is there any money? It was supposed to be set aside, I believe, was the deal for a future. I think it was around 290, but maybe after commissions less than that. Is there been any discussion about that being contributed to or assisting with some of these future or ongoing expenses, like you said, with the annual amount that you anticipate keeping the community center as the dual building between the community citizens and the school students?
I don't know what the legality of them transferring those funds to us would be. That being said, I've had conversation with 3 trustees, which I would rather not mention who they are specifically, but
Sure.
they know who they are, who have indicated that they would like to support the school's initiative by shifting those funds over to us in this pursuit. So I appreciate that they're willing to do that. At the other end of it, I don't know that they would have consensus on the board for that. They did have consensus of the board for supporting the bond initiative in the school district going for it. As far as the equipment that was at the facility, the school district did get a lot of that equipment, and we have it in use today. So we do have that rather than just getting rid of it or, just leaving it for Coletta. They did give us the opportunity to go out and get that. And Al Epsitis helped coordinate that, and appreciated
Well, that's great.
appreciated that he did that for us, because we used it to create workout rooms for our staff. So it's part of our health and wellness policy. So we're glad that we have that. And
Does Chester have his own treadmill?
Oh man, I tell you what, Chester, he's
we love Chester.
I know, and we talked about it. We said if we put Chester's face on the front of all this bond stuff, we'd pass it without a doubt. So he garners a lot of support, so that's for sure.
Yeah,
but we were able to get the pool tables, the foosball tables, the ping pong tables, and we have them here in what's called our owl closet. Just so people are aware, our kids, we have in essence like a whole store for kids who need any personal hygiene products, undergarments, brand new, or we've written grants for undergarments, socks, lightly used clothes. Yeah, happy to show it to you, Kelly, if you'd ever like to come and see. But and what we've done is we've created a place, and the kids actually helped paint and design it. And we've got art facility in there, and then what we've done is we've taken one of the old shops, and we've turned it into an area where the kids can go in if they're in need of any type of clothing, and it's nice quality stuff, gently used, and we've got changing rooms. But then there's not a stigma to it, because it's kind of like a student recreation center, and then they can also access clothing down there. So we use
that's brilliant to protect their self-esteem and to protect them, because we know that there's a lot more coming at them than there was when you were in school and when I was in school. We would just pull the alarm and get suspended for 3 days.
Yeah, it's different nowadays. It's a lot different than it used to be, that's for sure. And the thing is too, is we're very fortunate that we just sent out the Observer with all of our kids on the honor roll and the kids that ended up becoming valedictorians. And we have almost 10% of our kids that got a 4.0 at the senior level. And I think to myself, that's incredible. And then when of the graduating class, at least. And then I hear, well, it's too easy. Well, what people don't realize is these kids have to take Algebra 2, chemistry, physics, biology, 4 years of English, 4 years of social studies. We didn't have to take anything like that in my job.
I didn't have to take it either, but I think we had 4 valedictorians, but I graduated in a class over 600.
Wow.
So my percentage is way down. I guess we're not as smart as we all thought we were. Hey, real quick, Sue Miller, who heads up the Shoreline players over there, she had a quick question about what updates are going into the auditorium, and we've got 4 minutes left on our normal time frame. So throw out some quick responses, and then I got one last one that Dave Carmona, and then we want to just kind of give it a wrap up.
Sounds good. For sure, we're going to be looking at replacing all the electrical system and the lighting. We're going to look to have a sound booth built in the back. So all of those are for sure parts. And in the actual ballot language, it addresses the auditorium. So that'll be a focal point. We're also going to look at the other furnishings, including seating. We're hopeful to have enough money to be able to replace the majority of the seating, if not all of it. So
are you going to get those ones that are at the Lake Theater with a recline?
I don't know that we're going to go.
That'd be nice.
Currently, the facility holds, I think it's it's around 700 seats. So
yeah, it's a big auditorium.
It's a big auditorium.
Beautiful auditorium.
Thank you. And so by volume, we're going to have to figure out an economical way to make it make it last. So
Might I recommend blending? So in other
blend.
words, if you start replacing them, find something similar in color so that you can then reuse your parts from the ones you removed to fix the ones you can't replace yet. So
Sounds
thereby
good.
blending your new seating with your old seating to have at least comfortable and safe seating.
Absolutely. I
Thanks,
agree
Sue.
with you, Stu.
And I'm
So
thrilled that you're updating your electrical. That's awesome. And hopefully maybe we can get a few new lights in there. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
we'll definitely have a lot more lights in there, and it'll hopefully be the crown jewel of the arts community of Northeast Michigan. That's our hope.
that's amazing. Yeah, we've gone some performances from the dance academy over in your auditorium. In the sound, the lighting, the performance on the stage, it's just really a dynamic auditorium, much larger than I ever had back in. I won't date myself, but let's just say it was a long time ago. I'm coming up on the 40th reunion. So, hey,
Wow.
Dave Carmona had one quick question, and he kind of was going over some MCL stuff. He said there was an MCL, and I don't know if you know these off the top of your head, but I'll tell you what he wrote with it. MCL 380 1352 about restrictions on technology replacement and upgrades. And does any of the scheduled replacement fit within this bond request, or is that kind of outside of those parameters? Like, do you anticipate there's going to be some future stuff that we're going to have to go back after from a bond perspective with regards to the replacement and upgrades? Or does it all fit into what you've got on the bond right now?
No, it melds in real nice. We were a 1-to-1 school district as far as technology before the pandemic, which means we had at least one device for every student on campus. Now, some of them may have been desktops, and some of them may have been laptops. Some of them may have been iPads. Well, since then, we've evolved, and we used a lot of our ESSER funding, which is the funding that we got during the pandemic, to make sure that we had enough laptops for everybody in the event that we had to do remote instruction. But we were fortunate, and one of the only districts still to this day that I'm aware of, during the pandemic, we offered face-to-face instruction, full virtual instruction, and a blended model. So we offered all three, so we were blessed to be able to do that. And what happens with technology is you have to have a replacement cycle within 5-6 years because it just doesn't last, and it becomes antiquated. So for us, we are hopeful to be able to help offset some of that cost with this bond, to be able to make sure that we have student devices included in here. And our legal counsel drafted it in a way that it melds in with the MCL that Dave referenced. So we should be just fine to be able to do that. And also, from the first time when I was superintendent and we were able to get a sinking fund, you weren't allowed to utilize sinking funds for technology then, but you are allowed to utilize sinking fund for technology now. So we put it in there just as a means of trying to help offset in the event that we need it. But first things first, our biggest priorities as far as this bond goes is to be able to take care of the physical infrastructure of this campus. That is going to be our number one priority. We thought if we were able to use cost-effective measures, then we might be able to eke out a little bit of technology in the bus component. But really and truly, the focus is going to be on making sure that this facility is in good shape for a long time to come.
Yeah, when you were describing everything, and I'm just going to wrap it up, and then we want to bring up, Davey's going to bring up some stuff going on in the community. And we appreciate so much you giving so many answers to questions, because we didn't want to bombard you, but we also, I think the amount of information that you guys as a school have put out into the community, and that you yourself have sacrificed your personal time. I know myself, I've seen you 3 different times. So, I'm sure you've done it way more than that, and in so many other places. And I really hope people are encouraged at how much thought is going into not only for their children, but for our community as a whole, to represent and elevate us not only for the kids and their development, but their safety, advancing them into what a future should look like and not staying behind. I will tell you, as a little behind, I have, and you, for some reason you can't see it. Well, there you can see it. So yeah, I'm one of those people that lives in the past with technology. But I have promised that when I come back on Monday, because I'm heading out of town, that I am going to upgrade my equipment. So I guess all the way around, we all benefit. So, but I mean, it's been tremendous. I had no idea about, the owl closet, a lot of the different things that you and all of the dedicated members, whether they're teachers or custodians or security officers, our school resource officers, Chester, the fact that you guys have looked at all of these different things really and truly shows how lucky we are for such a rural and a smaller community compared to maybe some of the others around the state, where we rank and how we got there.
We're very blessed. We're very fortunate. We have a lot to be thankful for. And I think a big part of it is having that attitude that, we're grateful and we're just going to be positive, hardworking. We're going to dedicate to our skill. We're going to be resilient when times are tough, and we're going to exercise compassion at every chance that we can. So that's.
Yeah. And I thank you for having those 5 pillars, because, our world is, on a lot of occasions, not so kind, and it's easy to fall into that. And I think if you have, they say, what does it take? 21 days to create a new habit, and you're getting them for 12 years. So imagine what you're able to bring as far as compassionate, caring, and loving students.
Yeah,
I got a quick question for you, Scott.
Sure.
The Owls Closet, I know, how do people donate to that? Because I know you guys were asking for donations before and around the holidays.
Yep.
So how do people donate stuff to that?
Periodically throughout the year. A lot of times we keep it staffed just with the people who know about it. The person who's in charge of it right now is one of our social workers. Her name's Mrs. Axline, and she'll occasionally put a post out saying, hey, we'll be looking for donations for X, Y, or Z. And we're always very fortunate that we get that taken care of. The United Way has us designated as an agency. One of our students is always on the United Way board, and we've really cultivated a positive relationship with the United Way. So they annually give us funds. We typically use those funds to buy brand new undergarments for the kids and personal hygiene products. So a lot of times whenever people ask, hey, how can I donate to the school? What can I do? I generally try and steer them myself to the Owl Closet, because I thought, what better way can we take care of kids than making sure that they have all their needs met? And clothing and hygiene is a big deal, especially for kids as they're in adolescent age. So teenage coming into adults. So we have had situations on weekends where we've had drop-off stations for people to come and donate things. We've done that before. Right now we're sitting pretty good for clothes and things of that nature. We have and I didn't even have a chance to plug this yet, but I really should real quick if you just give me a moment, is
Sure.
the Family Fun Fair.
Yes, I have that down.
Yes.
It's April 20th, and people can go in and check out the Owl Closet and access whatever it is that they need. We'll try and help them out. But we have 61 different agencies in our county that are going to be here for the Family Fun Fair. Last year, we had over 1,200 people come in on a Saturday. We feed everybody. We fundraise it through the Oscoda Rotary Club. Works really hard to be able to make sure that this doesn't cost anybody a nickel. So Oscoda Schools and the Rotary partner together. We'll have 61 different agencies. So if there's anybody in Oscoda, Iosco County, Alcona County that is looking for something to do on April 20th, it's a great time to come and just see what's available to people. We're going to have the pool open for open swim. There's going to be all sorts of games and prizes for kids. And the Owl Closet will be open. So people can come and check that out then too. The free meal too. And I heard Dairy Queen has been good the past couple of years. They're here and important. So who doesn't like ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because Davey and I were talking about trying to pull together a community cleanup day. And we had started targeting the 20th because Earth Day is the 22nd. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, we can't do it the 20th. No one's going to be around.
Not a good day.
We're all going to be at the family fun fair.
Right.
Right.
We'll be happy to have them out here. We do welcome people in. And in this day and age when times are scary, to be honest, about a lot of things, we still want to be where people want to be. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
we
it's nice
want
to
this
hear.
to be a good place.
Yeah. And we had
Definitely.
I know we have a couple other people that are on here that have some stuff coming up. Sue, you want to give a quick plug for Boeing, which by the way, I went to open
Yeah.
I heard it was good.
fabulous.
It's good.
Went with a big group of people, and I got to tell you, the accents from all around the world were spot on. It was, maybe you don't even need to promote it. I'll promote it for you.
I was just going to say, Kelly, you got this covered. You got this covered, woman.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing though. We went, and I got to tell you, from the set design, which I know Dave Carmona, who's on with us, helped with. His wife was part of the directing crew and helping everybody. They're big supporters of the arts here in the community. But the actors, the sound, when I think it was JD, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but he did the in-flight announcements. So we all
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool announcement throughout. Like you had a total vibe going on of what was going on with regards to the play, what the atmosphere was like and all of that. So if you haven't gone, don't miss it this weekend, or go see it again if you already saw it. 7 p.m. on Friday and Saturday night, 2 p.m. matinee on Sunday, which will be the last performance before this one closes out and we move on to Steel Magnolias in June, which, Sue, give us a little update about the casting. You said it was complete.
Casting is
Ooh.
complete for Steel Magnolias, and yes, if you can, please come out and see Boing this weekend. Tickets are $12 for adults, $7 for students. You can purchase them at the box office before each performance or online. Steel Magnolias is holding their first rehearsal on Monday. We do not slow down, let me tell you. We will also be out at the Family Fun Fair. We've got some crafts and things for the kids to do if they stop by our booth at the Family Fun Fair. Thank you, Scott, for all you do for our kids and our community. Scott and I go back several years. You knew I had to ask about the auditorium, Scott.
I'm glad you did.
It's got my heart. I remember working with Marianne, and it's got my heart. But I'm glad that there's so many other great things going on. And you know what? We'll be a jewel in your crown, but I would love to see your auditorium become the crown jewel of our community. I think that's awesome. It was our home for a long time, so we love to see that some things are going to be happening with it. And Steel Magnolias is going to be fun. We've got an amazing cast. What's really cool about this cast is we have 4 brand new folks that have never stepped foot on our stage before. We have a young lady. Yeah, we got a young lady from Alcona High School. We've got a lady who's actually got some credits as a professional actor who will be in our show. We've got a couple other folks. One who, everybody kept saying, what's the hardest part about this audition? And I said, walking through the door. If you walk through the door, you've accomplished the hardest part. We'll help you through the rest of it. The rest of it can be as fun as you want it to be, but the hardest part, a lot of times for people who've never done community theater, who've never done theater at all, is walking through the door. And we kind of try and be, we kind of try and follow what they like to follow there over at the school. Like Scott says, we all try to be there, support each other. We want to be one big family and take care of each other. And if you walk through the door today, you're part of the family. If you've been there for 10 years, you're part of the family. We're so happy to have Dave and Kathy, who have jumped in, not with one foot. They didn't just stick their toe in the water. They jumped in with both feet. And, I love to see all the things they're involved in the community aside from our theater. So we feel very blessed that they've carved out some time to be part of our theater as well. And just come out, relax, see a show. It's
Yeah.
a fun
See,
time. You're gonna laugh.
It was an absolute amazing time. You guys really, everything was top notch from being greeted when you came in the door. So we really appreciate you plugging it. I do also want to say this sweatshirt, you got to support local, and this was just for you. So this is a cool design. I'm not creative. I said, just put one together. She did it. Justine did. And if you guys need any swag or any of that stuff, man, she's my girl and she does a great job. And I mean, we have a ton of great vendors, but I had to give her a little shout out because she put this together for us, and I'm really appreciative. Hey, Davey, I know you've got some stuff that you want to go over with regards to the BuzzHub app. If any of you do not have the BuzzHub app, it's not going to be your traditional app. So Davey will tell you how to get it and what's on there. And Scott, this might even be something great for you guys at the school to include.
Okay.
All right, Davey, spotlight yourself. Let's go.
Woo, spotlight myself. Oh no. Well, I could do it like this. I just wanted to I really wanted to go over talking about volunteering and stuff for all of our cool events. But you can get the Oscoda BuzzHub app by going to oscodabuzzhub.com and just look for the pop-up, click download, and you'll have all the wonderful events and local information right on your phone. It's really easy to use. If you have an event or business offering that you'd want us to promote for you or throw on the app, all you have to do is just click the button to submit your event and fill it out. Fill out the form, send it to us, and we'll verify all the information and get it up there for you. So it's really easy to use. Yeah.
Would you be willing to shoot me an email, if you'd be so kind, with all the information that you want to have on it, and maybe we can share it on our Facebook and encourage our followers to join the BuzzHub? How does that sound?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, because Kelly and I just talked that we need to start putting the sports, start promoting that a little bit more. So we're gonna have like a little sports section when all that kind of stuff is happening, so people will know when the games are happening. So
yeah, and it sends notifications. Davey is a little bit modest about how much work he has done on this. Originally, we were just kind of putting stuff up, and you could click what kind of Christmas cookie you liked, and that's where we were at in December of 2023. We went out. People like Justine, a lot of the community, our theater. A lot of the restaurants gave us gift certificates, businesses gave us stuff, even entrepreneurs like Robin Paris gave us a bunch of stuff that she baked. She's an amazing baker, and she gave us a gift certificate, and we raffled off baskets to get people to use it, and it's growing, and it's a great resource because it puts everything in one place, and it keeps people and kids in our community, which brings the interest to the community and grows it. And I'm not talking growing where people are like, we don't want to become a Traverse City. We're talking about growing, meaning people enjoying all the beautiful things that we have. We're in an amazing area. And Davey's put so much work into this thing, and you guys got to check it out. We have more business cards on order. We're also going to get some magnets. We're working with the Holiday Inn to utilize it for all their residents as well. So, Davey, I got to give you props, man. You work really hard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to the community.
Hey, no problem. It's kind of my pleasure. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but with Kelly, she kind of like we work really well together. So, but it's really unique to this side. Like if you look around, there's really nothing like that. I mean, like pretty much anywhere. Like how we're doing it. Events first, pretty much events and business first. So.
Yeah,
but I do want to, before we go, and it's free. So right now, so hey, take advantage of it. We're getting a pretty traffic too. So I wanted to go over, because we are going over like really long than we normally do. I just wanted to go over about volunteering for some of our events, because I know the marathon always needs help. The Touch a Truck needs some help. They've got a lot of stuff happening this year for that, and can really use as many volunteers as possible. The chamber has a lot of events happening too. They got the Art on the Beach,
Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan Festival, the parades. They always need help for that. We've also, the marathon, and we also have Jessica, who is, putting on the or helping with the festival, so that Grayling has their festival. Well, Oscoda is going to have their festival now too.
Nice.
So definitely need as many volunteers as possible for that too. And the Rock Fest. We got the Rock Fest coming up. So
Yep.
lots of events. You can go to the Oscoda Buzz Hub app, and all their contact information will be right in their event space. So, if you find something that, you might want to go to it, well, hey, if you volunteer, you might get to go to it for free. So it's always a
And if
win-win.
everyone on this call were to tell 5 of their friends, we would have close to 50 new people utilizing the Buzz Hub, and that's how the word gets out, and we build up our community. We collaborate, and we take ambition, and we turn it into action. And it's really what's going to strengthen us and take us to the next level of enjoyment for what a great community we have. Yeah, Dave Carmona, that's right. I know you guys have been patient. We've been on this. We usually try and stick right to the hour, but we had so much good stuff to cover. And the bond millage is so important that people understand what it does and how it works and the benefits, the features and the benefits. And we're very, very thankful again, Superintendent Moore, for your time, your expertise, and your commitment.
Yes.
Please, when you see this pop up on our Friends of Oscoda and Asabo Facebook page, I know Superintendent Moore, you don't have that, but anybody else that does, please make sure you share it. We really want to ask people to become knowledgeable before they go and vote, so that they understand the commitment of their money, but they also understand the benefits of their money going towards this bond proposal. So with that, I just want to say thank you again to everybody for coming on. Thank you, Superintendent Moore, and for Davey doing all of the technical stuff. We really appreciate it. We're going to come back with another Buzz Hub, and we're not letting the cat out of the bag of who that's going to be just yet. But we promise we'll see you in about 2 weeks.
All right.
Good deal.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, stop.